A 4-space save range. I did not expect this at all. We're going to talk about this. This is crazy. We have a lot of fun things with this banner. I've got a couple new things to show you, but I need to know in the comments, are you summoning? Did this banner do it for you? Because the art is incredible. Let's get started with female Alear, and wow, that's an outfit. Okay, so female Alear is a green armor, which the color is unfortunate. You can see that she's a far save. We're coming in here and we have Fell Child's art. I've done a little better job with the summaries here. These are these are done very quickly, so I don't get to do the iconography, but we get Slang, we get Dual Phase Brave, we get Adaptive Damage, and at start of combat, we get a debuff to the enemy's attack defense res equals -15 conditionally. We get 50% piercing. We get true damage of 20% based on the unit's res and flat DR based on the unit's res. And then we get the Excel special damage reduction of 20% based on the unit's res, which we've seen a ton of recently. This is a lot. Let me just say that there's a lot going on here. I want to, let's get to Fell Blast. So we'll move on to that. And I've got a summary for that too. This is a 3 cooldown special. We get boosted damage of 50% based on the unit's res. This unit better have sky high res. This is probably going to be similar to Rhea, where the big way you defeat that unit is by out-resing them. That is the thing. Then we get at start of phase, you grant Fell Spirit. This is new, and we'll get to that in just a second, to unit and allies within 2 spaces. And then if foe initiates combat and a special is ready, you get the damage reduction of 40% from foe's next attack. Now, Fell Spirit is probably one of the interesting things about this, and it's going to make this unit a little more supportive than we're used to. So this is a debuff of an Omni -4, and it grants Null Counter Disrupt, which is a big thing in the meta right now. We have so many different ways to stop units from attacking, and this helps a ton with that. And then it has the Twin and Save effect, where it lets your special damage reduction act twice, which is interesting in an effect that it's giving people. And then we have an additional Omni -2 when unit or foe initiates attack. I mean, I guess I don't, 2 is weird. But this is interesting. This is a lot of great stuff. I mean, distant counter, null counter disrupt. It is everything you want in a unit like this. Let's go through the rest of the kit though. And then we have Diluvial Boost, which is again is armor only, and we get the HP +5 and then attack defense res +9 and then restore 7 HP. This is the better version of this, by the way. Most of your saves are going to want this over the one that Corrin had. Then we have Scowling Fighter, which is new, and this is if foe initiates combat or if unit's HP is greater than 25% at start of combat, inflicts attack res -4 on foe, deals damage equals 20% of unit's res. We're seeing that everywhere. Reduces damage from foe's attacks by 20% of unit's res, and grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack during combat. And also, if foe's attack can trigger foe's special, you get Scowl if you meet a res check, which is really nice. You can see the whole Scowling Fighter, and that's for dragons only, so this is yet another thing that dragons are getting that's special. And then we have Higher Ground, which we've seen before and stops warping and is really neat. Okay, so I have been looking for a better way to summarize a lot of this stuff, because it's hard to look at kits and really have a good idea of where we're going. What I came up with is this. This is a work in progress. Understand this. This is the first time we're rolling this out, but I wanted to give you some relative numbers compared to units in the game right now. And there are some assumptions having to be made in this, but most of these are average numbers that you're going to find. And right off the bat, I want you to notice that Alear's flat DR is a bit low from what I thought she would have. There are other things, but understand that there are so many ways to get special damage reduction and Ike Ring, and a lot of that makes these on level playing ground. 25 is low, and it makes me worried about this unit that because she is so supportive, they didn't give her quite as much in another range. If you were to pair her with Rhea, maybe that support makes it worth it, but that's kind of a tough situation she's in. 25 true damage for a brave unit that is that is meant to be a tank is actually pretty good, so I like that. And then range of 2 is about standard for an armor. I will say I don't love this. I love the supportive capability, and that is the additional thing here. These are 3 things that drive how good a unit is, but the other column there is anything unique. And Fell Spirit is unique. It's good, but let's look at the tier list. So we come here, and I fought with this. I don't think this unit is on the same level as Neithogr and Rhea. I think she is lower, but she's also not tier 1. And this is where I really probably need to expand that and once again shift everyone down and finally send Marth and Zelgius into the nether regions there. But I'll get that updated. If you have her built up and have her supported correctly, she can perform. But when I'm looking at tier 1 units, I'm not looking at units that you have to build a team around. Rhea adds to your team. Same thing with Neithogr. These are units that out of the box do great things and yeah, add stuff there. This isn't a bad unit, understand that, but I just showed you stats that have her at the bottom range of survivability right now, and that is something to be concerned about. It's not to say that you can't use this unit, but I don't think she's going to have quite the influence as Neithogr or Rhea right now. Next, we have our emo boy, Fell Dragon in Alear, and again, the Fell art just looks fantastic. Let's look a little bit about what this unit is doing, and I'm gonna go all the way through that matchup because it troubles me slightly. And I want to glance real quick at Fellchild's Blade, and this is the standard Omni Tank build is what we're looking at. So we have Slaying, and we have combat versus foes within 3 rows and 3 columns, which anyone going into combat against you. But understand that support goes for other units as well. You get a debuff of an Omni -5, and it grants null bonuses. I mean, we've seen how good null bonuses is, but it is given out a lot right now, and so it is fairly common. At start of combat, you get a debuff of -10 on all the enemy unit stats, which is nice. You get 50% piercing, you get 20% true damage based on speed, 20% flat DR based on speed, and again, special DR, you get 20% of that on the unit speed. And the last thing we get is restores 7 HP after combat, which is good for any of these Omni tanks. We'll see why that's even better for this unit in just a second. Past that, you get Gust, and we've seen that before. It's an excellent special, and going to be excellent on this unit. This unit is going to have very high speed, even though we don't know the stats just yet. From there, we have Bond Breaker, and Bond Breaker is, so you get distant counter of that, which is good. At start of phase, grants Fell Spirit, which we've seen before, and again, Nullsea Disrupt is really nice and something that you need. It's going to make this unit supportive as well, and on an infantry unit that's a little better because of how much easier it is to get other supportive skills on you that you can help your team with. You get a debuff of attack speed -7 to closest foes and foes within those 2 spaces, and you get Schism on those same foes, which is a good thing. At start of combat, you get an in-combat buff of Omni +9, you get flat DR equals 7, and you get Miracle. This is once per combat, and that is really important because this unit is going to absolutely need it. So beyond that, you get Spiked Wall. We've seen the spike skills before. I think they're excellent, and the Bulwark effect is just almost a necessity right now with what the unit does. It is really important to keep all of the things going around you, but what's better is just Ice Lock. Ice Lock is probably the best thing you can get on that. So already we're kind of at a deficit there. Odd Speed Wave, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but probably you're going to put something else on this unit. You can outsource Null Follow-Up, and honestly, you just need as much as you could possibly get out of your C slot, and Odd Speed Wave really isn't it, although it does give you some extra speed, but yeah. Okay, let's look at this breakdown again. And so right off the bat, and I didn't mention this with Alear, I've kind of gone back and forth whether to add in the special DR to that flat DR number. I haven't done that with these other units. That would bump this unit up by 10, but I'm not at that point yet, and I think that 28, given the way I calculated the others, that should be about right. 28 does put him above Hector, but he's not really in that Neathogre range, or even in that rare range that we'd like to see. Still, this is respectable, and it's definitely higher than we saw from female Alear. As far as the true damage goes, we're only at about 24. I would have liked to seen more from a unit like this. From an Omni-Tank sword fighter, it is so important for you to actually be able to take things out. From a Savior, you have a little more of a forgiving... you're a little more forgiving just because units that are coming in on you, you can, if they survive, then you can try to take them out another time. Whereas if you're an Omni-Tank, if they survive, then they're trying to get around you and just absolutely demolishing your support. And then as far as range, I've got a range of 3 on this unit because, you know, they're an infantry unit. Nothing to write home about, but that's not something you're really worried about with a unit like this, and you could always give them Celica Ring to bump that up to 5. Still, though, I'm not just jumping up and down about this unit, and in the tier list kind of reflects that. I really think this is more of a tier 1 savior. I believe Marth had a 24 flat DR and a 41 true damage, which was really nice. Neathogre is fairly high up there, and Tiki was as well. How many tanks are hurting right now? Like, you have to be really special. So I'm not sure this unit really cuts the mustard. This is an archetype that is already hurting, and I don't think this unit can flip over to be a frontliner, although the miracle does help with that. A lot of times with frontliners, you're only expecting them to survive 1 hit. And so that part is nice. But still, I'm not just jumping up and down about this unit. I think survivability is going to be a real problem. Next, we have Fallen Lena. And I mean, I sound like a broken record, but this... God, I love the Fallen art. Like, even her staff looks fantastic. This unit hits deceptively hard, but this staff, I kind of went back and forth in the Discord about this. This staff does a lot. You have Wrathful Staff, you get start of phase to unit and allies, you get a buff of attack res +6 and grants bonus doubler and penalty neutralization, which is nice. At the start of combat, if you initiates or is within the tree space of an ally, you get a debuff equals minus 20% of units res +6 to foes attack and res. You get true damage of conditional 25, and then you get a guaranteed follow-up. So that's all nice. The real thing you're looking at here, though, is this other effects. Grants buff equals attack res +5 to allies within 3 spaces during combat, and grants miracle within 3 spaces, which is fantastic. And you get that whole +99%. Now, we're starting to see Fatal Smoke, and we're starting to see more feud effects. So I question how good this is going to be, but I promise you there will be someone who uses this and absolutely destroys your defense, and you're going to be cursing their name. So I keep that in mind. I don't have the same stack up for pure supportive units. It just doesn't make sense. I have this unit. I kind of went back and forth, and I have her right below Catria. The thing with Catria is that the latest build you have with her is the Detect build, and the ability to take your nuke and add detect to the team while still having Lena Ring and having Brave with that is really, really valuable. And I still think that Micaiah has a strong place in the game right now. And she certainly doesn't hit the tier 0 where we have the Sakura and Tree Boy duo. And Sakura is just almost untouchable now. Absolutely incredible. I will say that if you put Ice Lock on this unit, she immediately becomes very, very good. But as a supportive unit, I still have her in the tier 1 range. Okay. I normally talk about how much I love the art, but look at that. That looks amazing. Like the armor has become the Jaws. I love this so much. This is really, really incredible. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna see a little better view of it here. The armor has overtaken him, and look at how far he just jumped. This is important because Dimitri is 4 spaces away, and Dedue jumps in to save him, going up against Femortis, because I don't know. I don't know why they would put him up against Femortis, but look at that sprite. That's so good. There's just nothing I don't love about this. This is incredible. I'm over the moon. Okay. Back down to earth. Arcane Crest. I don't like this. Let me tell you why. I don't like, and they don't say this specifically. I didn't see this in the update, but this is almost certainly for armored beasts only. And the number of armored beasts that want this, it's very low because there aren't very many armored beasts. The whole thing with arcane weapons is they're supposed to bring up older units, and this doesn't do it. And as an arcane weapon, I just don't love it. Past that though, I love this unit. This is so neat. Let's look at Arcane Crest as an inheritable. And this is, we have Slaying. At the start of combat, if foe initiates or HP is above 25%, you get an in-combat buff of a conditional 14. You get neutralizes penalties, true damage of 15% of units attack, flat DR of 15% of units attack, and preempt pulse. That's incredible. Then you get the standard beast transformation stuff with a buff of attack +2 and distant counter. It's why I think that this is beast only, because that distant counter is only granted to armored beasts. But okay, this is very good. Like for your beast, this is going to be great, and Kanegus is probably going to love this, and no one else. So past that, we have Sturdy Beast. Yes, we've seen this before. It's perfect on this unit. We have attack, defense, fortune. A lot of beast units have been waiting for this, and the fact that this is on an arcane unit, like, that is fantastic, because that means you can give that out without giving up your Dedue, your Dedue is amazing. You do not want to give up this unit. Let's look at the rest of the kit, because we're not done yet, obviously. Assault Fighter. I think I love this, and I'm gonna have to look at this. I haven't sat down and compared this to the other fighter skills, but this is kind of great. So you have inflicts attack defense -4 on foe, deals damage equals 20% of unit's defense, reduces damage from foe's attack by 20% of unit's defense. Unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack and reduces the percentage of foe's non-special, so you get 50% piercing. That's pretty good. I think that is in concert with Wily Fighter. The guaranteed follow-up attack is nice. I really have to go in and compare it. Keep in mind what you're giving up is lull all or negation of penalties, and I don't know if I love that. Also, there's a possibility you might want Shield Fighter on this. I know we have some things that negate Shield Fighter, but I just haven't seen a whole lot of Alm around, and so that very well might still be the best B skill for them. But what we're here for is this C skill, because holy cow. Okay, for the True King, and I have a summary for this. Okay, this is Far Savior. If foe initiates a combat against an ally within 4 spaces, triggers Savior on unit, and it uses your support partner or unit with highest attack. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. So there's that. 4 spaces is a ton. So here's the thing. You can move to a space, and this is the way I'm reading this. The reason I have hesitance is because this seems unbelievable. Unit can move to a space within 2 spaces of target ally. There's no range on that listed. Now that may end up being the 4 spaces that we're looking at above, and that would probably make more sense, just to be completely honest. But that's really incredible. Like that is really nice. I'm gonna assume that it's the 4 spaces because, again, that makes more sense. But be on the lookout for that. That is something to test out. So, and if unit transforms, you get an in-combat buff of attack defense res +5, true damage of +7, flat DR of 7, and grants Preem Pulse -1 before units attack, and special effects that activate once per combat can activate twice. That's really important with the Sturdy Beast and makes this unit good. I mean, in case you didn't think this unit was good already. So, what can I say? Like, this is really, really a neat weapon and a unique unit in general. Where does that put us? And I mean, so we're looking at this, and this puts him at a flat DR, 1 higher of Neathogre. In case you were wondering how much of a pain in the butt this unit was going to be, the answer is yes, a big pain in the butt. So that's already really good. You get a true damage of 20, which, keep in mind, again, for a tank is high, and that's also really good, although you're not going to make this unit into a nuke. The range, and this is this is where this breaks down just a little bit, and normally this would be something that you would look at and say, you know, compared to Lyn gets 6 range, and so this unit only gets 4 range, and so they don't have elite range, but 4 range for a Savior is nuts. And so I've got him in his proper place, but I have marked that green. What you want to look at generally is for meta-defining units, and I've run a lot of units through this and started looking at where they sit, and I find the meta-defining units are elite in 2 of these categories. Very rarely 3. I haven't seen that, and we don't want that, to be completely honest with you. But generally 2 of these categories, they are just stellar, and this unit is stellar in flat DR and range, and that is why I think this is, I'm not going to say must pull, because Saviors are getting just absolutely torn up by nukes right now, and because of what you're seeing there with the true damage, you're just getting more true damage than you are flat DR from the newer nukes. I understand that is very top heavy right now, but still, that is something to look at. And if you need to be reminded of the basics of the game, we have the Triangle Attack t-shirt, which I really, really love this. This is probably my 2nd favorite shirt right now, right next to the Ike shirt that we have up in the shop. We have 2 days left on our 20% off coupon. Go check these out, and let's get back to the tier list here. What do you do with this unit? I have got him as the best far save in the game. Now, what might change?
But I'm begging you.
This is funny, because if this unit is actually the best far save in the game, it is good for Rhea. And the reason that is because Fatal Smoke will stop being so common if this unit is, you know, the best, and people stop paying attention to Rhea. But I mean, in truth, Rhea is still the best near save in the game, so you're probably still going to see that quite a bit. But be on the lookout for that. As Fatal Smoke drops off, and inevitably will, then Rhea's value actually raises up because that Drive Miracle is so incredible. Do be on the lookout for Feud though, and I still have Nidhogger up there. I still think she holds up. We've talked about most of these. The problem with this is very top heavy, and I've talked about having to move things down. The problem is we're just now getting this wave of new saves, and so things will slowly trickle down. But the difference between tier 0 and tier 1 is pretty drastic, and the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 is pretty drastic. And then everyone's kind of muddled down there. But this is some interesting stuff. So keep an eye out. These are some fantastic units. If you're looking for more of my content, I have a link right here. Go check that out. And members, you are amazing. Thank you for all that you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.